back to Unified Reality. On today's episode entitled Transforming Local Media, the Future of Content Creation with Monsieur Chuck Lapointe. How are you, Chuck?
Good, man. You?
I'm doing excellent, and it's great to have you on. I know you passed through our studio real quick, and we showed you the Vision Pro, and I asked this question from everyone. Is it the future of content? You know, spatial and all this weird stuff in these headsets and stuff.
I mean, it was a very interesting experience. I think just getting to understand the back end of how you do these things. I think it was cool.
Great. So we're going to jump right into it because I know obviously we don't want to talk about spatial the whole time because that's not the point of this show. This show is about unified reality. So unifying both IRL and digital and IRL to create what? Unified reality. That's what we believe is the future of experiencing. All right, so let's jump right into it, Chuck. You have a beautiful journey, man. I've been following you since forever, since I think before MTL Blog, but that's really when I saw everything you were doing, MTL Blog, right? So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, you know, where it started and how you got inspired to create MTL Blog?
Sure, man. Yeah, so look, it all started about a decade ago, 11 years now. Me, just for some background, I've been a developer my whole life. I've designed sites and launched sites, very small sites, but like just played around with that my entire life. When I really fell in love with just the internet as a whole when I started to be able to understand the mechanics of that. And when I guess it was 25 then, so that's 11 years ago now. For us, it was really about, again, like I was working with an ad agency. I was doing, fine. But I think it was more around like, it started just more as a part-time thing, and we wanted to get free tickets to events in the city. And my co-founder and I, Joshua McRae, he was a photographer and he was great. And we would essentially just go to these events at night after work and, had just that kind of experiential discovery of like what it was like to be a media and to be kind of in the background. And I think that was very interesting for us to understand that. And eventually I just left my job and I just wanted to do my own thing. And I started with MTL Blog because I knew that it had a chance. It was growing fast on Facebook at the time. And we just kind of kicked it off. And then eventually for us, it became a way to create the type of content that we wanted to consume as a millennial. Yes. I don't think we had that type of content back then in Montreal.
Sure, I remember. And it was kind of viral on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, for us, again, it was like, how do we create the type of content that we want to consume, not the 2,000 word articles that you get from the Gazette.
So let me just track back a little bit.
Yeah.
So you said you were a developer. Are you more like a designer or a back-end programmer?
I'd probably say more front-end developer.
So if you don't mind, like what was the first software that you kind of used to create a website?
I thought it was like Drupal or something.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And then you I'm guessing you used hosting for hosting all that stuff. So you had an agency though, right? Or it was you were working for an agency and then you created.
I was working for an agency, Resac at the time, and I was in charge of developing social apps for brands and clients. So we were doing like Facebook apps.
I remember those
for like with the like.
Yeah, so you gating and stuff. The like gating. You have to like the page, and then we'll give you content.
Yeah,
but Facebook removed all that stuff. It was kind of cool back then.
Yeah,
with the APIs. All right, and all the way to now, having Narcity and other big projects that you're going to tell us about. How did all that happen, right? So tell us a bit more of the highlights, just going through at it very quickly. So from being a developer to MTL Blog and then the future all the way to now.
Yep. So, I mean, as we started getting traction for MTL Blog, that was like late 2013, early 2014. We started to think, how can we bring this to different cities? I have big ambitions just on a personal kind of level. my personal mission is often to create products that are used by millions of people. That's my mission. So I wanted to see if we can make this work elsewhere, and that's when we launched Narcity in Toronto in 2014, and I think we got over 265,000 users in the first month that we launched.
Oh, that's great.
And with that success, we obviously knew that we could scale this across the country, so we launched it across 6 different markets in Canada within the next few years. And then we also launched in a few in the US and in the South, Texas and Florida and Georgia. And we had a solid business because we understood how to leverage, again, our social audiences to build value for brands. So we do branded content quite well for brands. And that's really how we kind of got to where we are at today.
Are you still serving all of those regions today?
We pulled out of the U.S. just because the economics for us didn't make sense, because we just needed more capital to be able to launch more aggressively there. And we just needed to go a bit more all out on sales, which we didn't do. But the audience was there. Like, we still have a Facebook page that's just sitting there.
One day you'll get back to it, I'm sure. And so when you said branded content, right? Is it also branded? It's not branded entertainment, but yeah, it could be, right? So I had a gentleman here that he really wanted to differentiate it. Like, no, branded entertainment is like, cinematic, and content is whatever you're doing on your phone. And tying this to local, right? Was that how it got successful? Basically taking a local business, creating branded content for that business, and basically getting that content viewers.
Yeah, exactly.
Different ways, right?
Yeah, I think it comes down to how can you work with a business and get them to understand the value that you provide in telling a story on their behalf that connects with people.
Was there a challenge there, like at the very beginning, when I guess social media now, everybody knows it, but 10 years ago it was a bit less known, or not less known, but people didn't see it as a tool, right, to sell? Was that a challenge at first to get people on board?
Yeah, we had a lot of backlash actually back then, and mostly from PR agencies that were used to pitching media outlets and getting their stuff out for free. But we essentially took the stance that, like, we don't need their releases to drive our content. We can just take our sources directly from social, from other places, and we would offer them an opportunity to pay. So paid media was not really a thing back then, but we really leaned into that hard, and eventually agencies and brands wanted to work with us because they understood the value that, like, okay, we pay for something, but at least it gives us a guarantee, it gives us a campaign, it's worth it.
Of viewership and everything else. All right, let's jump into local news, like how important that is, right? Local news, local media, and content. Can you share a bit why local news is absolutely vital for Narcity and also for consumers, right? We need local news. Tell us why local news is actually very vital, and what part it is, like how much heaviness it has or how much it contributes to the total content that's being created.
Yeah, I think for us, local news is about how do we bring out the very important or really cool things that happen in your city, and how do we bring that out to the mass, right? Like, we really define ourselves as a mass local media. We only talk about things that we believe is going to have a mainstream appeal. So we don't really do like investigative stuff, and that's on purpose, just because that's not necessarily our brand and that's not sort of our purpose. But for us, like, our purpose is how do we connect you to the most awesome things that happen in your city, but also like the important things that gets you to relate to your city. So things like the metro, things like the skyline, things like the landmarks of the city, and what makes them great or what makes them not great.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's well said. And so you said you don't focus on on like investigative or bad news, let's say. I would say like someone gets murdered, you're not going to cover that stuff, but well, maybe it might happen, but mostly what you're going to cover is experiences. Is that the right way of saying it? It's more like experiential. Like let's say you're going to cover a new restaurant or a new museum or a new park, right?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think
about
that. Yeah, I think that we're gonna cover like if I think it again. I think it depends on just like we don't have like a massive team, so we're not able to cover everything. So we just cover things that we believe are important at that time. And we also cover things that we think that we can do better than others at. So for us, we've really developed a niche in like that kind of like rainbow unicorn latte that you can get at this shop, on that street or whatever. Because we believe that the I think that you can be, and we do talk about negative news sometimes, because I think you can't just have the good, you need the bad as well. But I think that we're the first to really embrace it. Like you can have some really cool,
fun?
fun things beside that kind of negative
Yeah,
stuff
and
as well.
and we like that, right? The numbers show it too, right? So consumers like that type of news. It feels like the other news is a bit more driven by fear, right? And it feels like this one is more driven by I want to know, I'm curious, I want to find out, and it's fun. That being said, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face covering local media?
I mean, there's tons. I think, yeah, I mean, look, I think that the distribution dynamics are quite interesting right now. Like, obviously, we'll probably get into it,
Yes.
but I think that we've always been a social first media platform and business, and we created content with the purpose of engaging people where they are at, not necessarily trying to get them to our websites all the time. So we created a lot of value on social platforms, and we've invested a lot of money and time into that. So if we don't necessarily have the ability to reach our audiences on these platforms as much as we used to, then we just have to a bit shift how we think about our business. So I think that local media has typically always been a like ad driven business, and we still are. We're like 90% of our revenue is through ads. Um, but that's not enough anymore if your audience declines, and especially at the rate that we were going.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and we'll get into Bill C-18 soon, but I wanted to basically recap it. Is it the big issue right now is distribution, I'm guessing, right? How to distribute your content. Well, not how, but where to distribute it, where you're going to get eyeballs. And when you say advertising, right, is everything on your side programmatic? Meaning that do you buy and sell programmatic advertising, or is it more like a bit old school manual where you say, hey, client XYZ, we're going to do these campaigns. This is the cost, but then if you want to do placement, there's other costs. Is it kind of like that, or is it more just everything's programmatic, like you charge per eyeball?
Yeah, I mean, so the programmatic ad revenue for us has always been a significant one, but has been less so in the last few years, just as the audience declines. Because yeah, that's how it usually works. It's kind of like it's automatic. So essentially, depending on the users and the quality of the users that you have, the more money you make, depending on that. The issue with that is that we're moving into a privacy first world, and Apple is leading the way in that, and they don't have an incentive to push targeting for users on the ads. So with the Safari, they essentially blocked all third party
And this is
cookies.
and this is literally on your website. So on your website, because someone goes with Safari, you can't track that person anymore, and you can't actually know who that person
You
is.
can track them if you're the website owner. You can track them because you're installing a first party cookie, so you're able to understand that data and you're able to leverage that. But the programmatic ecosystem works with third party, because you have a brand, let's say, the coffee shop of the corner or whatever. You visit their site, and they're able to install a cookie in the browser in the session. So only with Chrome, because Safari they can't. Well, they could do that, but only for their own kind of purpose. And then this user is tracked along the internet. So Chrome allows you to do that, and Chrome allows brands to retarget that person across the entire internet. Safari is very, very, very limited. You need UID, so like a user ID, and you need to be able to track that user through some type of like identification, so through email or whatever. So I think, we have 49 or 50% of our users that use Safari. So we've seen a decline in those users, which literally makes no freaking sense.
Yeah,
How are Safari users worth less than Android users? But they are on the programmatic side, and by more than half they're worth.
yeah. Tell us some interesting stats because I've seen what you were saying, and it's really interesting, right? Like, how is it that an iOS user is less valuable? It's supposed to be more.
I mean, the stats prove that iPhone users usually spend more money than people who own a Android. But
Not all the time, though.
But in the programmatic space, unfortunately, that's not the case.
Right.
They're just worth less because you're not able to target them as effectively.
So essentially, Apple. This is what, 2 years now. It's approximately 2 years that this has happened. So a lot of publishers are complaining. Hopefully Apple will fix this. They're listening to us. We work with them, and us on our side, we don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't think it's Apple that's gonna I don't think it's for Apple to fix it. I think it's for the rest of the world to fix it. I think Apple
To
is doing a
fix
great thing.
itself. Well, I could argue, but I won't get into it. But let's say like the 30% off the App Store, like Fortnite, right? Epic had a huge battle with Apple. Who's right? Um, so a lot of companies just decided to do it outside of Apple, right? So Netflix, you can't pay on the app. If you want to pay something on the app, you have to give 30% to Apple. So Netflix says, hey, go on our website. Roblox, go on our website. Fortnite, go on our website. But TikTok, let's say you want to advertise on TikTok right now on your phone, you could, right? You do a post and you say, promote it. It tells you you're going to pay $5 plus 30% to Apple. Like, it shows you the number. It's like, do you want to? So you're like, wait, but if I go on the website, it's 30% cheaper? Yes. It's like, okay, well, I'll just go on the website.
Yep.
So there's these workarounds, but essentially it's because tech companies, they have shareholders and they need profit. So this is how it goes. We're in the world of profit making. Excellent. So some of the challenges that you've told us about is really about how the cookies have changed, and cookies are the crumbs that follow you around the internet. That's why we call them cookies. Let's jump into Bill C-18 and local news. Like, first, I want us, I know very much what it is. I think a lot of people do. But tell us, like, how does Bill C-18, what is Bill C-18 first, and what are the implications for local news in Canada?
So Bill C-18 is also called the Online News Act, and it's a legislation that has been passed in Senate last year and has officially passed the royal assent, which means it's now law. And what it does in its essence is force platforms that have over 20 million users a month in Canada that if they want to carry news content, they will have to pay the publishers. So they will have to pay the producers of that content. And they have an option to comply and carry news officially. But that has not been the case. They've not done that, or they can seek an exemption. And in that case, they need to essentially to satisfy a bunch of different criteria. So Google has been able to do that willingly. I think that how this law has been introduced, how it's been handled, how the amount of pressure that they're putting on different platforms. Like, I think it was just a wrong approach from the start. I think it's just been terribly handled. And Google, I mean, has been saying for years, ever since this law was a prospect of being a law, is that Google has been willing to pay 100 million in fees, and that's exactly what they ended up signing in December and agreeing to. So we've essentially just done this shit show for 3 years to just get to the point where they like did what they were saying that they would do. And the consequence is that Meta, which is the other platform that would be captured by the law, Meta has been saying for years that like they would pull out of news, and they did. So they officially pulled out of news in Canada on Instagram and Facebook on August 15th. So they've officially blocked all news content and all news accounts.
But even the accounts are shut down.
So the accounts are not visible to Canadians. They're not shut down, but like
They're like ghost shadow, basically.
you know, if you're in the States or if you're in Europe, you could see our content there.
That's crazy.
But if you're in Canada, you can't.
It's true, because I tested it. Like just when you said it, right? I think you guys posted like we're across the border and we could see our content.
Yeah.
And the second day, like 2-3 days later, I was across the border. I'm like, yeah, I could see Chuck's stuff, but I can't see it there. Man, it's too bad. But let's just a little bit of details on Bill C-18. So literally, the Canadian government said that if you have more than 20 million users on your platform, and platform could be a search engine, a website, a SaaS, anything where there's a login, I guess, or users. If there's more than 20 million people, you have to pay back our Canadian creators. Did they define what that meant? Like, how much are we supposed to pay back? Let's say I have a platform and I have 21 million users on it. Did they define how we were supposed to pay back the creators? Or was it just all in the air? Like, nothing was really defined, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not. I didn't study the bill in too much detail. I'm also not a lawyer, but from my understanding, you know, it was kind of up in the air. They were supposed to come up with like a formula, and you know, the government was expecting a lot more money. I think initially they were expecting close to 300 something million, and they ended up with 100 million from Google, which essentially means that not only are we getting less money than they like initially thought, but we're also ending up with no distribution on Meta.
Yeah, so we're basically losing twice on this deal, right? So Alphabet is still giving what they said, $100 million from a few years back, and we're not even counting inflation and everything that happened. That should have at least been double the amount. I think it's 16,000 or 21,000 per creator or something like that. It's for the whole year, right? It's not a lot. It's
Yeah, I think it's less than that. And there's everyone involved in there. I mean, there's a lot of CBC,
yeah,
bad media, like the broadcasters,
and
publishers,
and them. Like, I feel like it's a bit not fair for you, because you have a company that was started in 2013, 14. You worked hard on the internet to make a name for the brand. These broadcast companies have been around for 100 years, and all they do is just take the government money. At a certain point, I remember being in some of these offices and telling them, hey, if you don't have an app, you're going to lose. And they kept laughing and laughing. And a lot of those, you know, they're employees. They don't really care. They're not entrepreneurs like us. They don't care about the company. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm retiring soon. But they don't do it until the building is on fire. And when the building is on fire and you try to do these things, it costs you 10 times more. So I know who developed the apps for Gem TV and CBC. And I'll tell you, they're like, yeah, we charged them. If they would have came with us 10 years ago, the infrastructure was different. We could have done it way differently. But now that your building is on fire and you need it tomorrow, I'm going to charge you 3 times more because I know I can. Oh, it's the government paid for it? Okay, it's 5 times more. This is not even jokes. All right, we won't get into those things, but we do appreciate democracy, and democracy is what this is, right? You voted for this government, and this government gives you what you voted for. So vote differently if you're not happy. Like, all right. So I didn't want to get very political, but it's really about
I mean, when you talk about news, it kind of
Well,
always goes a
it
bit
is, right?
that
So
way.
that's why it's kind of touchy. Like we're not political, but because it's news, we have to kind of get into it. Like Facebook banning local news is huge, man. I like this is like it changes the whole recipe for all of us. Like most Canadians get their news from Facebook. And now you're saying there's no more news? Do people even notice that the news is not there anymore?
That's so. There's been a study that came out last year by Pew Institute that says around 53%, if not more, of Gen Z and millennials get their news from social. So I don't know how this didn't make it to our government when they come up with this law, but it's a disaster because you have millions of Canadians that don't necessarily seek out news. They're going to get it from these algorithms and they're going to get it from their news feeds. And that's how they've been trained over the years through these platforms to do that. So a lot of people don't even notice that like
Crazy.
official news organizations are gone from these platforms. And even some of my friends, they're like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't notice. It's like, what do you mean? You didn't see it? Like, it's not there anymore.
but it's just that they're so trained to just take whatever these
Yeah.
algorithms give them. It's crazy how that kind of thinking doesn't go in that kind of daily consumption habit like anymore. So I think that the people who want news are still going to get them. I mean, you still understand how to download an app or how to go on a website, but the majority of people are not like that.
Yeah, no,
You know,
it's easy come, right? Like I want it at the fingertips, and we coined this something interesting. I'd like to share with you. So we call it the broken attention economy, right? So it's very easy to understand. I didn't invent these words, but basically, because our attention is broken, right, between the phone and the real world, our jobs, our families, and all these things, we don't pay attention. Is that news real, or am I still following real news? So what happens is we just open our phone and just watch something that's fast, right? So short format is very popular now. And my saying to the team is always like, what happened? Was it the egg or the chicken, right? Was behavior put upon us, short format? Was it forced to us? Or is it that we're just dumb and we like short format? I like to say that humans are not dumb, that we're very intelligent, but we're emotional. So if you show us the right emotions, we might become dumb if you convince us to become dumb. So this behavior that is going on right now with the broken attention economy is basically forcing even good creators and journalists to dumb it down so that they could get views. Or in this case in Canada, to even change what they're talking about. Someone could have been talking about local news. Now they're like, well, I have to change my content. I have to not talk about pies or cars or whatever. So, and he's like, I don't really want to talk about those things, but in order to pay for my bills, I have to do that. So we call that, behavior control. And literally, you change your employees, right? In this era that we are the employees, right? UGC, who is the user? It's you and me that generates the content. They don't really create any sort of content. We're the ones creating all the content.
yep.
The platforms host the content, manage the content, distribute the content,
I'd incentivize you for that content as well.
and also the
In some
big part,
cases.
monetize it, right? In Facebook's case, they don't really pay back to creators, but YouTube is a good example where they will give you money back, and you could make an earning, and you could make a career out of this. That's what the internet was for. That's what we thought it was built for, right? To democratize first the distribution of information. All right. Now that like all of this happened, like how does this change it for you, right? Like what do you do about this? So can you, if you don't mind, like how much traffic were you getting from these platforms, and now what happened? Where are you at?
Yeah, so we've been we started getting understanding of that this would officially happen probably end of 22, and we started really kind of embracing our fate a bit, I would say. And a lot of that embracing was done on the product side. So really understood that, again, everyone tells us that, and in media, it's that kind of thing that you just always say is you got to own your audience. So again, there wasn't that much incentivizing for us to own our audience when we were doing so well on social and search. So for example, at one point, even just last April, we did 14 million users a month.
This is click-throughs or impressions?
No, this is users, like unique
unique
people
users
in Canada and in the US. I mean, that's
pretty big.
We were, I think, at one point like the 9th largest like information network in Canada, with a team of 100 and a few.
And I don't want to cut you, but the other 8 was probably all broadcasters, right? Like you're like
broadcaster
heavyweights. They have like 500, not 500, but they have 100 employees and more.
Yeah, well, they have a lot more than that.
Yeah, so like you were 9th, but really I could say you're first, because if I was to give you the resources that they had, you'd probably be on top of them.
Maybe. I mean, look. So I think for us, we knew that the clock was ticking, and that we didn't necessarily. Again, we knew that we didn't own these audiences, but I don't think the sense of urgency happened until 23. So in 23, we essentially started to develop products and a platform essentially to start gathering that data. So we launched a whole bunch of things in 23, but the biggest thing for us was just coming to terms that we would have to live with an entirely different size of audience. So for example, if we just look and I'm not afraid to share these numbers because they're public, but we had an 88% drop in traffic.
Wow,
year over year.
That's yeah.
It's been and this started happening again like right after the block on August 15th. So we had about 45% of our audience that came from social. So it was a big amount.
Big, yeah.
And now you're just seeing what's happening with search as well. The search experience is getting worse, and with Gen AI that's just able to produce, like there was this guy, like an SEO person that was venting of the fact that he was able to publish 40,000 articles in a period of 2 months, and he was able to game Google to get traffic.
Get all that traffic.
So do you just imagine if you're Google, that's like you have the entire world that is conspiring to game your system and your algorithm. And because it's based on the open web, it has to absorb all of this information. So I think that Google's traffic has been in decline, and especially in the last even few months, where they start to rank Reddit and Quora and TikTok and YouTube at the top of their search engine, because they want to get people are just tired of having to consume all of this content
stuff
or it's fake or whatever,
yeah.
But just this terrible kind of experience on the web. So I think for us is we really started to embrace that. And so I really kind of take that risk. So what I did is we launched a login wall across all our websites. So now it's a dynamic wall. So essentially so we force a user to create a free account to access our website and our content. But if the conversion rate is too low, then we deactivate the wall. So then we just try to monetize it through the banner ads and traffic. As soon as we deactivate the wall, it just, it goes and it does well on Google. As soon as soon as we have the wall activated, then you start to see a drop in traffic.
Oh yeah.
And that's normal because Google uses signals on their website to identify if there is a good bounce rate and whatever. But essentially what we did is we started to do that to start to understand who our core users were. So now we're doing about 3 million users a month.
That's not bad,
give or take, and I think that's good our rate now.
And is that like people that find you on? Because what's the percentage from search?
It's still heavy. I'd say like over 50%.
Like people search for MTL blog or they search for the subject, like
Both. So they're going to search for the brand, or they're going to search just for different types of content. Then they're going to land on us. A lot of the traffic also even comes from Discover. So if you have Android, it's like it's the first thing that appears on your phone, like on a Google app. So that's more like a news feed, they call it like a interest feed. So a lot of traffic still comes from that. So again, it's like we know that even that is
changing.
Is a ticking clock. Like it's going to keep on going down. So it's really all about, for us, is we embrace that kind of future reality where we're going to just live with a reduced audience, but that audience is going to be a core audience that believes and cares about our content and cares about our business enough to give an exchange of data. It takes 3 seconds to create an account, but a lot of people don't even do that because, again, they're used to getting all of this information for free that's provided from these algorithms. So I think for us, it's been just a really enlightening experience to really understand who's our core audience, and we need to create content for them, not for the tourists that we call, the people that come on our website.
They come to Montreal. I guess. Oh yeah, not Montreal. You met the website,
yes.
But Montreal too, I guess.
No, but
you don't want
that
people that
they're like anonymous and they come out like on our website for 23 seconds and they don't even give a shit enough to just create a free account. They're just like, I don't care about this. I don't even care about this article in the first place.
Yeah, why did I even click? I'm out.
Yeah, so we call them tourists, and like, they're great because they're bringing us kind of short-term revenue, but it's not the type of people that we want to care about long term.
Thank you. It was a great insight. And if you don't mind, you said that so you've shifted to having some paywalls or dynamic walls on the website. You also mentioned the platform. That's the website, right? And any apps or anything?
Yeah. So we really see it as like the future. We see it as a local eco system that we are building, and a lot of that is going to be coming into this platform that we're building. And this platform allows you to log into different websites. So for now, it's just ours, but eventually it could be others. And that's just kind of the start of the journey. So once you create a free account, then you subscribe to emails, to content, and then eventually you get pushed like the app. And eventually what we want to do is we want them to enroll their credit cards and subscribe to savings and cash back with merchants and things like that. Cool. So Milla, which is our brand, it has just started off as this essentially this login experience and this journey, but will eventually transform our business into how we are able to leverage our content that we do to monetize our users in different ways and to give them enough value that they're willing to trust us with their credit card and with their data. So for us, that's kind of the start. And then we launched Rally, which is our creator agency, in November 23. And that's been a huge growth business for us because we didn't even expect that it would grow this fast. But I think that what we've nailed down was the fact that creators more and more are in need of support, and they need support to monetize and to build their brands, and a community of people that understand their pains. So we've been able to launch this agency that represents them exclusively, and we help them to monetize and bring in ad deals. And the goal there is to hopefully, give them enough income that they can eventually leave their full-time jobs
and be full-time creators.
And be a full-time creator. And I think for us that that kind of mission ties really well with all the other things that we're doing. So we're going to launch events as well, and we've launched a few that work.
Yeah, I saw some in Toronto, right?
Yeah, so we launched a few in Toronto, and we're going to be launching a membership offering as well. So it's going to be a mix between an accelerator for creators, really again just to embrace the creator economy. I believe that the future of media is about how do you connect with your users in the most authentic and relatable way, and we're seeing that that's through humans and people. And
definitely.
So I think brands more and more are not able to relate to people as much, and I think that that's just the trend that you're seeing. And I think that even on the local side, I think that that is going to be a thing as well. So we're kind of preparing our future of the business towards how do we mold and bring personalities to life in the local setting,
Hmm.
and how do we get them to create meaningful content again in our cities.
Meaningful, authentic content. I keep hearing that back from everyone that I ask, right? So one thing that everybody says, all entrepreneurs, is your people. People are very important. Connections are important.
Yeah.
And authenticity in content. So when I ask like influencers, what's gonna happen, or all rounds, right? So from all the way from a OF all the way to just someone that's just writing a text. You have all types of creators. I think we're at about 300 million creators worldwide right now. The creator economy is booming. It is just growing every day. So that's excellent that you want to support them. Um, Coming back to your platform, is this like a social media thing? Are you like going against Facebook or something, or is it more like a news app, or like a experience app maybe?
So it's a mix of both. So essentially, what we're doing is we have our media brands, which you know, and then we have our creators that live in the cities in Canada, and then that's our top of the funnel, right? So that's our like, we inspire, we entertain, and we inform. And then right now the experience ends at the website or ends on social with the creators. So how do you get your loyal users to experience your ecosystem in a deeper way? So for us, it it brings them into how do we get them to experience the city.
Mm-hmm.
So to connect them to their city, we believe that businesses in our cities are essential to promote that kind of the community feel that you're expecting and that you need as a human. So for us, it's all about how do we get them to experience more of their city. So Milla is that kind of platform that allows you to, it gives you points for reading articles, it gives you points for saving roundups, it gives you points for cashback with the merchants that participate. And it allows you to unlock even more points for doing other things as well. But our goal is really, we just try to bring it back to that community, to that city feeling and experience that really makes us who we are, as well as a media platform and media brand. So I think that for us is also a way, just on the business side of things, is it's a way to solve attribution.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the ad dollars has left the local media system and has gone over to Meta, to Google, to retail media, to Amazon, to Walmart. Now, even a Uber Eats is going to offer ads now.
Yeah.
So you just have ads everywhere, and everyone is a media business. So, and their shit works. It works because they have the transactional data from their users, and they have a large audience, so they're able to just sell ads that are extremely relevant and engaging for users, and they're able to show sales and results. And that's the biggest shift that we've seen in the last few years, is that a lot of brands now expect that as the default. They expect, like, what is my return on my ad spend? Like, if you can't give me that, then good luck.
Makes sense, because basically they have the eyeballs and they have the data, and it all comes back to data, right? So I was trying to explain to my dad that data now is worth more than gold or petroleum, and he was like, "But why?" I'm like, "It's information." But he's like, "But why do you need this information?" He's making fun of me. I'm like, "Because we want to sell stuff to them. That's the whole point. Why do you need the information? To sell stuff to them, or to figure out how much you're going to charge them for it, right? If it's an insurance or financial data." So yeah, everything comes back to data. So if I'm on this, is this launching soon? Should we look out for it? Is there some big thing that we should look out for, or and do you need some help, right? So because we're always here as partners to help you if you ever need it.
Yeah. So look,
We would
we're,
we would love to be transparent there. And one thing I wanted to add was when you said local media, right? I believe that mom and pop shops need to be empowered more, and I feel like most people are okay with that and they want that. So local news to me also means empowering local mom and pop shops, which I
absolutely.
think for our communities, each one of us works. Everyone wants that.
Yep.
Like I don't need another H&M, or I don't need another big store. I need maybe a smaller store that I could see every day and that I know because it's a local family. I grow up with them. Like I see them get old, but this H&M store, it's just 18-year-olds that just churn in and out, so nothing is personal. I'm just a number for them.
Yeah,
Right, but
and
that's another discussion. I really like the fact that that's what it does. Local news empowers local business.
yeah, and exactly, and I think that that's always, I mean, that's been the essence of the space for over 100 years, right? Like even more. And I think we're losing that online. I think in real life, you're still seeing people go into these stores, buying a baguette, buying a coffee, going for very expensive wine. Like these experiences are still happening, but they're happening offline. They're not happening online.
You're so
It's
right.
like online, we're just living in this fucking different universe.
It's the Matrix, and sometimes we actually believe that that's true, right?
Yeah.
We're like,
So
no,
how do
no,
we
no.
bring it back from the on like how do we bring the offline experience to online as well?
So our mission here at Unified Reality, the name of our show is that, right?
Well, I'm gonna steal that.
So you could, but it's trademarked and patented. It's been a while. So, Unified Reality, you are Unified Reality. So me at Genius as a CEO, I do everything with strategy. I don't play checkers. I play 4D, 5D chess, right? So everything that I'm doing now was planned 10 years ago. And what I'm about to launch this summer was planned 10 years ago. And I think that there's a good possibility that we will be partners on that. Let's go to advertising, right? We just talked about it and the shift and influencers and future of content creators. So it's blowing up. It's bigger than ever. You have Rally now that caters to, is it Rally or it's the agency? Rally's the agency, right?
Yep.
Rally caters to creators that want to become creators. So from all levels, right? They could be a
Yeah.
small
So they're
creator.
creators right now, and we try to focus on they have to have a local identity, even though their content might not necessarily be local. They got to live in Canada, and so we have 90 across the country now already. And yeah, we most of them that are successful right now in the system have already done some form of partnership with brands, so they understand how to speak about brands and how to make those stories work. But we're also trying to get the creators that have not done those experiences before and try to get them to level up and to try to get them more campaigns and more awareness as well.
Is there like a specific type of content creators that you guys are looking for?
Just a creator again that like has good energy, has good growth, has a good engagement rate. So we also look at those. And a creator that again that has some form of understanding or has had a few types of partnerships that have worked in the past. But we're also launching Boulevard, which is our kind of events and our membership offering, to offer an accelerator for creators that want to become a creator more kind of on a permanent basis, but that might not be as successful to make it to Rally. So we're seeing how we can deliver this type of learning and community experience for creators that like want to participate and want to learn and to grow. So we're excited about that actually.
That's very exciting, man. I wish you the best. And if you ever need help, let me know. All I hear is everything that you're describing is to me unified reality because it feels like you're going from you were online media and now you're going to help creators. You're going to create a platform. You also have events, and the eventuality of all of this is experiential, right? So it's an experience. The event is an experience where the sponsor could be there, the advertiser could be there, the content creator is there, and the content is being created there, and then the content gets distributed online. To me, this is part of what I want to see in the future. I would like this to be seamless, all of it, right? From the digital to the physical. And once we get that right,
and not owned by anyone too.
not owned by some people that are not as greedy, but eventually if you get shareholders, you have no choice. It's like a wall, right? You're like in this wall because they tell you, listen, if you don't do what we say, you're going to get fired. We were just watching. I was watching with the team yesterday. Movie Pass, the story of Movie Pass, right? Two guys came up with the story, well, not the story, the idea of let's do a Movie Pass. It's $10 a month. You could go see movies everywhere. Great idea, but the shareholders that came,
In
the
reality,
partners that came, they were totally different. They had like they did an IPO through a SPAC and they raised a bunch of money. They didn't really care about the product. They didn't even care about the founders. They fired them. So that's what happens, right? You get taken over by big money. So it's the greed that might bring you there. But what if we had something, just like Fubu, for us, by us, for the people, by the people, for the people, or why not by the creators for the creators? It's
exactly.
totally simple because if you think about it, the creators are the backbone of all these platforms. Without the creators, they're nothing, right?
Absolutely.
But also on the other side, without the brands, the creators are nothing. So it's a combination of understanding this landscape and putting the right people at the right time. I mean, with the right place, with the right tech.
So we go back to the ad side, right? So ads is what powers the open internet, right? Like, I think that there's a lot of creators and journalists as well launching independent kind of like outlets on Substack and others in their, or like a Patreon account, and they're putting their content behind a paywall. Like, that's fine. If they can make that work, that is absolutely amazing, and I support that. Unfortunately, it's just the majority of the people like can't afford another subscription. Like, they already
Yeah.
pay for Netflix or whatever else that they're doing. It's like they'll pay for one or two, like a New York Times and others, but eventually that doesn't scale. So I think that like I think if you want to recreate again and give power back to the creators of content, is you're going to have to understand how to leverage and bring more ad dollars back to your business.
Yes, I totally agree. There's that, and we believe that the broken attention economy is not going to have the solution for that. So it can't be a banner or a video or just an influencer going there, hey, this is done. That's not going to work anymore. I kind of do know what's going to happen because I've been studying it for so long. All I could say is experience. But on the other side of it, where we look at the technology that runs all of this, right? Okay, so there's advertising, but what about the data and the exterior stuff, and also um, experiential, and now we're getting into AI. I had a point, but I forgot it, but it'll come back to me. You see, I'm struggling a little bit, but it's okay. I wanted to talk about, let's get into it, right? So AI, because I know you use it, I use it, we're using it all the time. Uh, at Genius XR, all of our staff has a paid version. What about you? Did you get subscriptions for all the staff or not yet?
So again, like I'm a developer by background, so I fell in love with it the day it came out. I think it was like December 5th or something, 22 chat GPT 3.5 or whatever at that time. That just blew my mind, honestly. Just the fact that like you could accelerate the pace that you could code is just insane to me. And I think for me, that was also kind of another element that made me understand how fast the world is moving and the things that we're always afraid to do. Like, you got to fucking start doing that shit now, because you're going to be left out by AI is going to surpass anything that you can ever imagine. So I have a paid version. I've been one of the first to have it. We have a team kind of component. I give it to people that want it and that want to use it. I think a lot of people don't necessarily see the difference between the free and the paid yet.
Yeah, they don't see it, but we see it. You see it, right?
Well, I mean, now you have the GPT 4.0, right? So
Yeah.
that's also free. So I think now it's just a cap increase or whatever
Yeah.
with the paid. So it's like, what's the purpose? I think OpenAI is trying to just compete and trying to just.
But also,
get as
there's a
much growth as
difference.
possible.
The free one, it takes your data. The paid one doesn't take your data.
Yeah,
So let's say,
again.
but we don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna say we don't know really, because there could be some rogue employees somewhere taking something. But essentially, they're not supposed to take your data. Have you tried Gemini?
I've never tried it.
So Google really wants us, the whole team, to use it, and I'm like, listen, you still have to show me that it's better. So we're like going back and forth. We have another meeting with them next week. They're like, we're gonna do a demo. I'm like, all right, let's see, because for now, GPT does a really good job, and like we've done so many cool things with it, and I could go on and on. But let's bring it back to the creator economy, right? So Rally uh, is an influencer agency, and this means that AI will influence Rally, right? Somehow, some way, because it will influence creators. How do you see this influencing creators? Like, are creators just going to disappear, or are they going to get better?
I really believe that to be a good creator of content, you need to embrace your, again, your like being authentic and being real. And AI, you know, it's might get there. For right now, it's not good. Like I'm not sure if you've asked it to draft like a document or a story, like it, like if it's fictional it might work, but it's like it doesn't understand your personality. I mean, it's gonna look completely off if you share it from your like your LinkedIn account or whatever, and they try to get you everywhere, like use AI to generate your post. Like if you use AI, you're killing your personal brand. I think that
Yes.
that's kind of my perspective. So I think that for us, I think that AI is good to accelerate kind of structural things and help fix your grammar and syntax and things like that. But you can't use AI, at least for right now, to generate like content from scratch like it and post it as is. I think that that's just off. I also see that, like, again, AIs will get better, and I know that people use AI as well to like fake human things. So they're gonna ask it to make like grammar mistakes and things like that, just to try to make it more human. But I think that the world is going to value human content even more, because it I think that the value of the creation of what humans can do lies into the kind of work ethic and the experience that's been crafted into that kind of piece of content. And I think that eventually it's going to be like art, and you'll be able to use and to be able to value content the same way that you do with art. If it's just a poster of the real piece of art, like it's not worth anything. Like it's
Mhm.
worth whatever you buy it, buy it with the frame. Like the frame is worth more than the actual
Then the,
picture.
but the beauty of it there is for someone to look at.
Yeah, but
But
the
the
real
value.
art and the real art is worth something, because you know that the artists and the painter behind that piece of art like physically did this piece, and with all the history of this person that was put into this piece of art, and that's worth a lot more than the print kind of version. And I think content is going to go the same route, is that humans that create the piece of content and that you're able to verify that it actually comes from this human, this person, I think that that will be worth more.
That's a great way of looking at it. And so, talking about AI and content creation, are you on your platform working on any AI features that would help creators somehow, some way, from your experience?
Yeah, I think for right now, we're like, I think that the creator focus is more, again, just trying to level them up and trying to get them to make more money. And then, but we're definitely going to be using AI on the Mila side and uh, Narcity and MTL blog as well, but just from the kind of user perspective. So, for example, right now you're able, if you create an account, it's free. You're able to summarize an article, right? So we just
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so we're able to do that.
So I don't have to read the
You
whole
don't have to
thing. I
read the
could
whole
just
thing if
read
you
the
don't want to.
summary. Did you add like audio too? I could click and just hear it.
We don't have audio, but yeah, we could definitely
These
do that.
shouldn't be hard. Because I saw that on like I think they just added that somewhere on Forbes or somewhere. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
there's kind of a bunch of things like that right now. Like for us, I mean, we used to have a like a read aloud kind of
oh yeah,
and
I
stuff,
remember.
but it's like not even 2% of
People
people
weren't
use
using it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
All right. You said something important. You're helping creators on the monetization side. What are the big challenges on monetization? Like, are creators complaining? Are they making less money? Is it better or is it worse compared to, let's say, 5 years ago? Kind of.
I mean, I think the rate of the amount of creators that have gone into the space has like exponentially increased over the last few years. So I think it is harder to make money for sure, for them, because to make money. I mean, just even on TikTok, like how do you make money on TikTok? I think you have a creator fund, but I don't know how people get actual cash in there. So the only way to make money on TikTok is to sell brand deals. So to sell brand deals, you got to have a massive audience, and you have to have the type of content that appeals to brands as well. But the more creators there are, the harder it is to get those deals, right? Because there's only a finite amount of money in the ad space that could be that could go back.
And so essentially the biggest amounts that creators do get, obviously some of them, like, I'm not going to talk about Mr. Beast on YouTube. He gets YouTube money. Well, not to cover his videos apparently, but you're saying that most creators, let's say on TikTok or IG locally, right? They don't actually get paid from the platform. It's more money from an agency or a brand.
Yep.
An agency like Rally, basically, that would say, hey, create these videos or this video, and here's the budget.
So we're gonna work in partnership with brands, kind of how we've been doing with the media brand side for like a long time, and I think that's why creators want to work with us, is that we understand that side of things a lot. But yeah, so they're gonna get that money through doing a piece of content that's branded or sponsored.
That's excellent, man. It was a good insight for me. That's kind of what I thought as well. We're going towards the end, and I know you have to leave very soon. So 2 more segments, very quick. Where do you see the future of social media? Like, is it going to have another change, right? So we went from text, pictures, and video, then shorts, and everybody copied each other. What's the next thing?
I don't know, man. And
hard to predict, really.
And I don't really care, to be honest. Like, just on a personal level, I don't use any social at all. Like, I use LinkedIn and Instagram to post a picture every 3 months. Like, that is literally the usage that I do, because it's just not healthy to go on these platforms, like, to be honest. And even now I have like 2 kids that are young, and I just think about their future, and like, I don't want my kids to go on these platforms. Like, I know that they will end up on there, but it's just like, it's so toxic.
Yeah. Congratulations on your second child. I did not know.
Thank you.
Daughter?
Daughter, yeah.
So you have 2 daughters, right?
No, I
a
have
boy.
a boy. Yeah, I have a boy. It was 3.5, and a daughter that's a year and a half now.
Well, congratulations, my friend. And my last segment for you, and this is a big one for all of the entrepreneurs out there that, look up to you, look up to all of us, and they're younger or even older. What are some of the challenges that you faced creating Narcity, right? Because you did tell us some of the recent challenges, but what was like the biggest one when you were starting back then? Like this challenge that you had and that you'd like to share with us?
I mean, I think it's just owning a business in general, and building something from scratch, not having the authority and the trusts built out. I think that just takes time. And I think as building a business, you're very, like, I'm a very non-patient person, so I like things to move fast. And that is the thing you learn. You have to learn. You're forced into as you build a business, is you have to be patient, because you got to plant the seeds and you got to build stuff, and then things just take time, and the world, just takes time. It doesn't react to the pace that you want it to in a lot of cases. And you can try to force things, but a lot of times that doesn't work the way you want it.
So true. So true. So I had the same issue, and a lot of entrepreneurs told me, like, if you're not patient, you either just fail, right? Or what happens is, like you said, it forces you, right? So it forces a fail on you, or it forces you to move on to something else. And then when you look back, you're like, but if I had just done that properly, I'd be good. So I remember me and Rich had a YouTube channel in 2008 called Real City TV. And we had like a bunch of videos, and YouTube said, we're not monetizing, and we don't even know if Canada's going to be part of it. And so we're like, just forget that. Let's open an agency, which we did good.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking to myself, if I would have been patient just with that channel, I would have waited a year. YouTube would have said, hey, now we're monetizing, and we'd probably have the biggest urban channel in Canada, or maybe in the world, because we were doing daily videos when people didn't even know what a video was. I'm telling you, like, daily. We had like interviews.
I would love to see this channel if it still exists.
It's actually still there on YouTube. Go Real City TV. We deleted everything except for our demo, like our reels. And the reel that we kept is like a shout out from all the artists we interviewed. And it starts like with Ice Cube, and then it goes to like Akon and like big names we had. And shout out to all of those guys because we still know like half of them and work with half of them indirectly somehow. Um, okay, so we're gonna close it off. Do you have one piece of advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur that wants to go into media creation, either as a solo or as a entity like an agency? What would be a good advice that you give to a young entrepreneur?
I think there's never been a better time to start a media business. It depends on the scale that you want. I think if you want to be an independent, it's a fucking great time for that. You have a Substack and you can launch like an email list in less than 30 seconds. If you are able to be consistent and you're able to be yourself and build a good brand around yourself, there's never been a better time. If you want to build a big media business, which was our ambitions and still is, it's going to take you a lot of resources and a lot of patience and a lot of just grit, because it's going to be very interesting times the next few years as we develop many new things that we believe will shape that kind of future. But I don't think there's anyone who knows what that will look
What
like.
it's gonna be like. Yeah, the future only knows itself, and we hope that we will get there in one piece with health and a bit of wealth. Thank you very much, Chuck. I very appreciated this visit to the studio, and you're welcome to come back anytime. I'm gonna force you to come back again on some updates, and if you ever need anything from us, you just let us know. Thank you, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers.